So, to update everyone who has been on this journey with us, or me in particular, on this particular item, I no longer have to worry about my ew license plate. I did get a new license plate, and I did not have to actually get a personalized plate because I just got a new car. I was like, we're not going to deal with this. So, just got a new car. It was actually time for me to get a new car. I didn't just do it to get a new license plate. That would be really expensive. But shout out to Williams Subaru because they picked out a plate from their stack that does not say "ooh" and it does not say "ass man," which I was also worried about from Seinfeld. So, um, thank you so much for picking that out for me. But I do have to mention that my sales guy was Gen Z, which was an interesting conversation. And while showing me the new car, he like told me that there are no longer CD players included. And I was like, oh, so no six disc CD changer, to which apparently he actually had one of those. And so I asked him, like, where do you get CDs nowadays? And I'm thinking that he was going to say something like, oh, I get them at the store, I get them at Best Buy, they still sell them there. But no, he says to me, I get them at the thrift shop, which just like killed me. And what did you say to me when I told you that, Hannah?
That's where I get mine too.
So it's like telling me like you're getting something from my not childhood, from my like late teens and early 20s. Uh, they were still a thing, and you're like, oh, I get them at the vintage store. Like that's how that feels. So, ouch.
Oh my gosh. They're way cheaper than buying them online. I gotta give it to
But
Goodwill.
I would have thought that like he would have been like, oh, like we used to get them at Best Buy, for example, and Best Buy still carries lots of things. So I was like, oh, well, probably maybe there's still a section at Best Buy where you're getting CDs. But no, you were like, I get them at the thrift shop, and that's exactly what he said. And I was just like, oh. So, well, we are back from our break, and you are listening to Millennial Meets Gen Z 90's edition, the podcast where one of us grew up in the 90's surrounded by movies, shows, and pop culture that help shape everything, and the other is discovering it all for the first time. I'm Allison, the millennial,
I'm Hannah, the Gen Z.
and each week we go back and revisit a piece of 90s culture that I introduce. So whether you've lived through it or you're just discovering it now, let's rewind. So last week, you had some downtime and you needed a movie to watch, and I usually like to have recommendations. So, what did I recommend?
Harry and the Hendersons. Such a good movie, by the way. Just gotta
Now,
say
this
that.
wasn't a movie from the 90's. It's actually from 1987, but it is kind of relevant and it's on Netflix right now. So if you want to go and watch it, check it out. It's a great comedy. And though it's not our movie of the week, what did you think of it?
I really liked it. I thought it was really funny. Like, for that specific day, too, I needed something to do that was funny and it was uplifting and just it was such a stupidly funny movie, not in the regard that it is stupid, but like the humor of it was stupid. You know what I mean? Like it
Yes.
wasn't like I don't know. It was really good, and I liked the themes involved. I feel like it showed that humans impact the environment in the regard to Harry. Kind of showed that humans are the villains again. Great.
That's a common theme. So what was your rating for that one? If we had to rate that one, what would you give it out of 10?
I'd give it an 8.
An 8. Okay, that's high. I feel like you're not really hitting anything on the low scale, so
I haven't
not so
hated
far.
anything or disliked anything at all.
Okay, well, let's hope that keeps going because we've got a lot of 90's movies to watch.
As long as you don't make me watch anything with sinkholes or mooses again, we're good.
For those who don't know, Harry and the Hendersons is a family comedy about the Henderson family who run into a real life Bigfoot named Harry while camping, and they decide to take him home. The movie follows their efforts to hide the large, friendly creature from the public, the neighbors, and a determined hunter while trying to return him to the wild. Now, I do want to point out some people in this movie that you may or may not have recognized. So, the first one being John Lithgow, he was like the main dad character that you saw. You probably would know him as the voice of Lord Farquaad in Shrek. Yeah.
What?
He was also in Footloose, Cliffhanger, The Pelican Brief, Don Quixote, Third Rock from the Sun, which is a great 90s show we'll have to check out, Orange County, Dreamgirls, Confessions of a Shopaholic, Leap Year, How I Met Your Mother, Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, Pitch Perfect 3, Late Night, The Crown, where he played Winston Churchill. A lot of people know him from that. Bombshell and Conclave. So he was in a lot of different things. That's just like some of my picks from his IMDb. But those are the things that you might recognize him from.
He was
We
Lord Farquaad.
Yeah, he was Lord Farquaad. And then the mom was played by Melinda Dillon. She was in Magnolia, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and a my favorite holiday movie, A Christmas Story. So if you ever watch A Christmas Story at Christmas time, that is a really great movie where she plays the mom in that movie as well. And now Sarah was played by Margaret Langrick, who was known for Cold Comfort and a couple episodes of the show 21 Jump Street, not the movies, My American Cousin, and Camp Wilder. Ernie was played by Joshua Rudoy, who was in Beauty and the Beast, What a Dummy, and Flatliners. And then Harry himself was played by Kevin Peter Hall, who actually was the Predator in the Predator movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So, he played monsters, apparently.
Oh my God.
So I thought that was cool. But do you
That
believe
was
in
cool.
Bigfoot now? If you hit Bigfoot with your car, do you think that you take him home with you?
Knowing me, probably because sometimes I just do things for the
What?
bit, and I would be like, actually, in
Do
retrospect,
things
if it
for
was in
the
my
bit.
apartment, I would like release him in my neighborhood and be like, go terrorize the awful people in my neighborhood. Neighbors, I'm so sorry if you're watching.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to hide him in an apartment, but also like I don't think that you know, Illinois is a great Bigfoot location, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. Well, my mother is a big Bigfoot believer, and I am not. This is actually one of the things that like we both vehemently disagree on. She's convinced that not only have they found evidence of Bigfoot, that she's seen Bigfoot before, and I am convinced that they have found evidence of bears, and that is what she saw. So I get her all this Bigfoot stuff, like a garden spinner that like hangs in your garden. It has Bigfoot in the middle, and a fridge magnet. And she tries to convince me that Bigfoot is real. And I have been considering getting someone to dress up like Bigfoot and wander around the woods by her house. Um, but I haven't done it yet, so we'll see. If she's listening, she'll probably get a laugh out of that.
If
However,
you do
I
that, you
know
have to
that
take a video.
I'm kind of worried if I did hire somebody to do that, they'd probably get shot by someone. So, like, that would be a terrible idea for their own safety. They'd have to have, like, maybe some bulletproof vests or something underneath their Bigfoot suit. And it's, like, just still probably a bad idea. But I do know that if I did encounter a Bigfoot in the wild, I would not take it home with me. I might take it to a safe area, but my house is not built for Bigfoot. My neighborhood is not built for Bigfoot. Neither is yours. I think mine is closer to Bigfoot territory than yours is. But jeepers, I think that it's just normally a bear. So this wasn't our movie of the week, but it was relevant to our movie of the week where we encounter things in the woods, and of course, it's kind of funny. So I hear that you have some animals of your own to talk about. So what are we talking about, Hannah? Because you said you have a surprise for us.
Yes, I
Okay.
do indeed. So, for some background, I am like 10 years old at heart. I am a hoarder and I collect things, and my obsession over the last, I don't even know how long, but I've had an obsession with calico critters. And for anyone who knows them, they are cute little animals, like they have like fur on them. They're adorable, and I'm obsessed with them. So, I picked out two that represent Allison and I. And I think they're very cute. So I'll show
Us
you.
in calico critter form?
Yes.
Okay. And
So
did
I
you like decide this ahead of time or were you just like have looking at your calico critters and then
um I was just kind of looking at them. Like they're in my room, so I saw them and then I saw one of them specifically, my cat just stole the Calico critter and is now playing with it on the what up?
Is she playing with my Calico critter or yours?
Yeah!
She just took off with me. Is that what you're saying?
She just
Oh,
stole
great.
it.
I've become a
Oh, yeah.
cat toy.
I I have it back though, and in complete honesty, they are kind of like my favorite ones are on my floor because I like to view them from afar. You know, I just like to like check on them and make sure they're okay. So these are two of my favorite ones. So
Okay, so
I
let's see
feel
them.
you
Go
should be
ahead.
honored. So this is you, your cute little toy poodle.
Toy poodle.
It
What
doesn't
makes
actually.
me wait. What? What exactly? Yeah, we can see it, Hannah. What exactly is the thing that reminds you of me as a toy poodle dressed in a pink dress?
It's not specifically the toy poodle concept. It's one, the like coloring, like the little like auburny esque of it. And I feel like it just encapsulates you. Like it's so just like sweet looking and like it's just cute. And I don't know, I feel like you'd slay in a dress like this. Like you
It
need
just melt to the floor.
like you need to get a dress like this, it would slay. You can match your calico critter.
That is like the opposite of what I wear, just in general.
It's true, but
Like
it's
nothing in my wardrobe is pink. Okay.
and
Well,
this is mine.
apparently
I'm
we
a cat. I'm a
okay,
basic
and
cat.
what about that one represents you?
So, one, because it's yellow, and
Okay.
I feel like I'm yellow. Like, if I were a color, I feel like I'd be yellow. And two, I feel like she just kind of looks like, how do I explain this? Like, in my eyes, when I play with
That's
them,
just you.
it just like this is the character I always use as me, and typically she is just kind of like there, like watching all the drama go down, and I feel like that's just like what this cat is.
I'm
And
part
I
of the
feel
drama? Like, wait a minute. What do you mean? What drama?
Okay, so I have a
This has gone
storyline
off the
here.
rails, Hannah. The surprise that you have has gone off the rails.
So, okay, so I have a storyline, and I have like this snow leopard male calico critter, and I have a deer. So I always have like a little Zootopia-esque relationship where it's like, oh my God, like they shouldn't be together because he's like a predator and she's like prey. And it's like a whole thing. But like they're dating and
Okay, we
there's
need
like
to.
drama and then like
I'm
all the
scared.
main yeah. And then I have like a wolf too, and like I've I have like bullies. The predators typically aren't bullies though, weirdly enough. I have like a porcupine who's the bully because porcupines kind of scare me a little bit.
Porcupines are so sweet, though.
They are?
They get a bad rap.
Really? I've
Okay,
never
so first of
attracted
all, have you seen the movie The Christmas Toy?
mm-mm.
Okay,
I've
so
heard
this
of it.
predates like Toy Story, but it's essentially like it was a movie. It was Jim Henson, so it's like kind of puppety. It's like Muppety, and it's toys that like come to life when the kids are asleep.
Oh.
And I think you need to watch that movie at some point because you're like watching them makes me feel like very the Christmas toy. It's a Christmas movie, but it's like a Rugby the Tiger. He's fears being replaced by a new Christmas. So this was pre Toy Story, but it has kind of Toy Story like storyline a little bit. I mean, they're not rescuing anything.
Yeah, I feel
Well,
like
they
they're
do
always
rescue
doing that.
Rugby from getting in trouble, but yeah,
Mm.
because you don't
Oh.
want to be caught out of your position when the humans wake up.
Oh. Wait,
Because
that
you
sounds
know,
good. I do love like movies like that, like Toy
it's
Story.
a Jim Henson movie. I think that you need to watch that now that we've seen your Calico Critters.
I love them. And I feel like that encapsulates us. And at least we're both like good ones. We're not like the my villains. We're the ones I
Yeah,
like.
if you picked me, now I want to be the porcupine.
Okay. You go around beefing with people in
Go-
my calico critter world.
Yes, I am the porcupine. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, let's dive into our movie of the week so we can talk more animals. Do you want to introduce it?
Yes. So our movie of the week was Wild America from 1997. Just want to start off by saying star JTT, which we saw in Man of the House
Yes. Why are you
connection.
why are you doing the signals?
Because JTT just reminds me of like a rapper. Boom.
Okay, well, he definitely wasn't. He was a heartthrob.
Yeah.
So we were all like, oh, it was all mushy and cute. And he was like mushy and cute. Well, the official synopsis for Wild America is the fearless young Stouffer brothers, Marty, played by Scott Bairstow, Mark, played by Devon Sawa, and Marshall, played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, JTT, as we mentioned, can hardly imagine going into the family business hawking auto parts in a small town of Arkansas. With the begrudging approval of their no-nonsense father, the brothers set out on a dangerous cross-country camping trip intending to capture on film their encounters with wild animals and the last remnants of their natural world in the rapidly vanishing American West. So, as we talked about last week, this 1997 Wild America film was actually inspired by the true story based on the lives of Marty, Mark, and Marshall Stouffer. They are three brothers from Arkansas who became famed wildlife filmmakers. So, this movie like dramatizes their 1960s road trip across America, where they actually did go and film dangerous animals, showcasing their early adventures and filmmaking pursuits. And that became the movie The Predators. Not the predator, the
Yeah.
predators. So, still
Okay.
slightly different. But this movie is up for free on YouTube. So, Hannah, what did you think about this movie?
I really liked it. I actually really liked it. As I told you multiple times, I am now afraid of mooses. Mooses. I don't
Moose.
know.
Just
Just moose.
yeah,
Oh,
just moose. That's
so
plural and singular.
okay. So I don't like moose. Big Daddy Moose over there was not. That's what I'm calling the big moose. Big Daddy Moose. No. Just want to start by saying that. But everything else I loved. I do really like how JTT acts. Like I like his acting style. I feel like it's he's very natural with it and he's not forcing it. You know how like some actors or actresses you're kind of like, "Oh, you're forcing that."
Yeah.
I feel like he doesn't. But
Well,
I
he's
love
a good
animals,
actor. Yeah, he's pretty natural. And
which
also,
I appreciate.
there are no moose in Illinois, so I think you're safe.
Yes, I hated that part. Like you don't understand. I was sitting there, I was like, "Oh, like there's a cute little moose." Like, "Oh my God." No. Big Daddy Moose came out of Barrelin. I was scared, Allison. I was scared.
Okay, well, we will add that to the list of groundhogs and now moose that you are afraid of. This is a very weird predator list. You know, those groundhogs are gonna get you.
Like it
So,
wasn't the bears. It wasn't the bears. It was the moose. It's the moose that
well,
got me.
this movie is written by David Michael Weger. This was the only thing that he wrote.
Oh.
So, the end. Not the end of the podcast, so keep listening. This movie was directed by William Deere, who was known for Angels in the Outfield, Time Rider, The Rocketeer, and Harry and the Hendersons.
How did I didn't actually research the directors at all on this one.
So he directed both movies, which was not planned as much as that's kind of cool. It was not planned.
Wait, that
Um,
is
he also
really cool.
he also directed Journey to the Center of the Earth, which was another good kind of intense movie. You probably
I
should.
love
Oh,
that movie.
okay.
I love that movie. Wait, that's not like a top like 10 favorite, but I've watched that movie on repeat like many times and I love that movie. It's so good.
It is a very good movie. I think it was also the movie that I got in trouble because and I wish the person who did this was listening to this podcast, so I'll have to send it. But I used to nanny, and the kid that I was nannying for, hi Isaac, um, he had gotten it like from they had gotten it as a family, I think, from the library. And typically, like after school, he would watch a movie and eat a snack, and like we would hang out or whatever. And he put that movie on I just assumed it was an already approved movie that he was
Yeah.
allowed to watch, and he was apparently not allowed to watch that. So he's watching it, and then later his mom's like, did she watch that movie?" And I was like, is he not allowed to? Because he definitely told me he was. So, um, like, I didn't know that it wasn't approved, but
Oh my God.
honestly, it was better to watch. I mean, I wasn't really paying attention to that movie very much when it was on because I had to like watch him and his sister, and usually his sister didn't want to watch movies, so she'd want to do other things. Um, but it was nice to not watch Shrek for the billionth time because he used to just watch it on repeat over and over and over, and I was like, I've seen Shrek so many times now.
That's a solid
So
one, though. That's a solid
what?
one. That's a
So
solid one. Yeah.
well, and now we have that connection to Lord Farquaad. So there you go. So what was your favorite animal in this movie? If it wasn't the moose,
I'm thinking about that.
was it Bigfoot?
It was not Bigfoot, actually. I love Bigfoot, though. That was a great little connection there between the movies. Okay, is it contradicting to say it was the non-aggressive little moose?
Baby moose.
The baby
The
moose?
baby moose. Okay, so you like them when they're babies, but outside that, once they become old, you're like done. Okay.
Big daddy moose. No.
Well, don't touch the babies. Just as a recommendation, you saw what happens.
Yeah.
So let's dive in. We meet Marshall as he's running through the woods in Fort Smith, Arkansas in 1967. And he says, "No matter how fast I ran or how far, I never got away, but I didn't die. I wouldn't give them the pleasure." Sure, there are two sides to every story. The story of how I made it, uh, the story of how I survived my big brothers. We see him trip and fall, and his brothers scoop him up and strap him to a chair that they raise over the pool, threatening that he has to count to 15 before he can release the belt around his waist in the under the water. Marshall says that his big brothers told him that this would cure his fear of heights, but he wasn't sure that he had a fear of heights until they started hoisting him up there. Once hovering in a chair over the pool, Mark cuts the rope, letting Marshall in the chair sink to the bottom of the pool. He said that they were only dangerous when they had a camera in their hands, which was a lot. They shoot firecrackers at him in the pool, and Marshall swims up and out, and Mark says he beat his record by 3 seconds. Inside the house, Marshall uses his brother's toothbrushes to clean the toilet and then puts them back. Their mom rescued wild animals, so they had lots of them. Marshall's favorite was an owl, Leona, who had a broken wing. Now, Marty liked and wanted to be like Ernest Hemingway, who they called Ernie Bob, and Mark was in love with himself and the ladies. But Marshall, he himself was a dreamer. So let's introduce the brothers before we get in any further. So Marshall, as we talk about, is our narrator of this movie, and he's also in the movie, and it is played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, JTT. You may remember him from our Man of the House. Go check that one out. Go watch the movie if you get a chance. Also, the pod is up for that one. But JGT really landed when he was on Home Improvement. A great show. We'll have to watch an episode at some point here. He played the middle child in that show, Randy Taylor, but he was also the voice of young Simba in The Lion King, which a lot of people recognize his voice. He also did Tom and Huck. He was the voice of Pinocchio in The Adventures of Pinocchio. He did a ton of voiceover work, and he was in a few episodes of Tim Allen's last show, not his current show, but his last show, Last Man Standing. And then during the 90's, he was like I said, he was all over our magazine covers, all over everything. He was just the teen bop heartthrob. So Mark is played by Devon Sawa, who was the real live Casper that we all fell in love with. And now he's also in our Now and Then on our list, Idle Hands and Final Destination. In the 90's, he was also known for the Nerf commercials because Nerf was really big in the 90's. Additionally, he was in Little Giants. He was also in Nikita and Chucky, the TV series. So he was also equally a heartthrob when this movie came out.
Hmm, interesting.
Marty was played by Scott Bairstow, who was in The Postman, Tuck Everlasting. Everybody loved that movie, and The Black Circle Boys. He was also in The Lonesome Dove, the series, and Party of Five with Jennifer Love Hewitt. So Mo would probably know Scott Bairstow from his obsession with J Love. The farmhand Leon was in the Air Force with the boy's dad and came back with him after the war and never left. Marshall said they used to patch up old airplanes and fly them when they were in the Air Force. Marshall tells Leon that he wants to fly with Leona someday, and Leon believes he will. Leon tells Marshall his dad is coming back tomorrow. Now, Leon is played by Tracy Walter, who is known for his role in The Repo Man, Batman, City Slickers, which will be on our list as well, Conan the Destroyer, Serpico, Annie Hall, Silence of the Lambs, which is also on our Halloween list, Junior
That's the scary one.
with
Okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Independence Day on our list, Matilda on our list, Mighty Joe Young, Man on the Moon, Drowning Mona, which I love that movie, Drowning Mona, and we just saw him in Aaron Brockovich.
Okay,
And
well,
Hannah's
I'm writing
looking her
down some of the movies.
Well, some
I'm
of them
gonna
are on
watch
our
some
list.
of these.
You can't go watching them because we're gonna watch them in our sweet time. But do you remember him in Aaron Brockovich? He played the guy that was kind of creeping her out at the party, and then she realized that he was like the linchpin because he was the one who shredded the documents. We just watched this movie a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I could see that.
It was like the middle and the end of the movie that he kind of appears because he
Yeah,
like shows up
I
at
do
the
remember him.
yeah, he was
I
creeping
remember
her
that
out. So
character.
that was the same guy, Tracy Walter.
I need to work on my facial recognition skills.
Well,
Really.
later we see Marshall pretending to fly in the Skybolt plane he's been working on with his dad so they could fly together someday. And a few minutes later, Mark and Marty open the garage and set it up to show their movies. Mark tells people that Marty is going out to Africa and shoot big game like Ernie Bob Hemingway. And then Marty says that Mark is going to stay and dip carburetors. They get flack from DC, who says that's never gonna happen, that he goes out. Marshall said that there were two movie theaters in their town, one on Main Street and one in their garage. Everyone loved to watch the movies over and over, especially when they were dangerous or blowing up Marshall, honestly. And DC supplied the sound effects, but DC liked anything where people had a good chance of getting hurt. Sounds like a stand-up guy. The crowd always laughed and cheered. The next day, Marty is reading a story about a cave with 1,000 sleeping bears. Just then, they hear the truck pull in and they run out back and get to work. Their dad goes into the kitchen and asks where all their troubles are. He means the boys. And their mom covers for them and says they're out back working. He asks what they're having, and she lists off things like fried chicken and the rest of their meal, including a homemade peach pie for dessert. Now, Marshall is spying on this whole interaction, and when his dad leaves the kitchen, his mom pulls the store-bought pie out of the fridge and she puts it into a real pie pan, and she explains it's just a little white lie. Doesn't hurt anybody.
That's something I would do. That's something I would do now. Just
That's something I have done. I passed off for Thanksgiving, I think it was, a raspberry peach or raspberry pie. And my uncle called me out when he asked me what was raspberries. And I was like, raspberries, obviously. He was like, what's in raspberries? And I was like, raspberries?
I don't even know what's in those.
That's not, I think it's like three, I think it's like raspberries and a few other things, but like I just told him it was raspberries because I could not remember what berries went into raspberry pie. It's like a Marie Callender's or some kind of brand pie, but yeah, I had kept bringing this raspberry pie every year as like my homemade pie, and I put it in my own pie tin and everything. And he was like, "Yeah, what's in this raspberry pie?" I was like, "Raspberries." Jeez. You didn't know that? Duh. Um, yeah,
That's so
and
funny.
then I didn't bring that pie anymore because I got caught. Well, their mother, Agnes, is played by Frances Fisher, who is known for her role as Rose's mom in Titanic.
Oh my God.
Okay, Unforgiven, Laws of Attraction, and Holiday. But she was also in Big, Lucy and Desi Before the Laughter, Gone in 60 Seconds, The Lincoln Lawyer, Watchmen, and was in the recent movie The Wrong Paris. Marshall and his dad work on the Skybolt, and his dad quizzes him on flying. He asks about the clouds. His dad says you slice through them like butter, and all you have is the bluest sky you can think of. And then they all went to sleep with their dad singing Mountain Dew, and he farts at the end of it, which is just a weird situation, but that's what happens. Their father, Marty Sr., is played by Jamie Sheridan, who's known for Syriana, Sully, The Ice Storm, and Spotlight. He was also in the Cradle Will Rock, Hamlet, Life is a House, Law and Order, Criminal Intent, Homeland, and he is in one episode of Grace and Frankie. So for the Gen Z watching some Grace and Frankie, you can keep an eye out for Marty Sr.
That is such a good show. I'm obsessed with it. I'm
It
obsessed with
is.
it.
It is a good show. I do highly recommend. The next day, the parents go into town to pay bills, and the boys take the dune buggy to race DC and win. And DC, it's just because his truck weighs more. So he gets a truck hood, and he says he wants to race with Zero, aka Marshall, on the hood, dragging behind the dune buggy to add more weight and drag. Just then, the two college girls pull up. They're the Stewart sisters, and the race starts with Marshall on the back. They get to the end of the race, and Marshall sails off as the rope breaks, and he lands in a mud puddle. The boys rush over and say he's fine. The college girls then put them down for risking their little brother's life for some stupid race. Now, the quieter sister Tana was played by Leanne Wallace, who is married to Brian Luttrell of the Backstreet Boys. So, wanted to point that out because they weren't in anything like the neither girl was ended up in anything that was like of any consequence really after this movie or before. But she did marry a Backstreet Boy, so she was
Wait,
in
that's
the.
really cool.
I think they met on the set of one of their music videos, and then yeah, they fell in love, and they've been married ever since. Like they're still married. I did check that out. So.
Fun.
Marty says he had a dumb idea to risk his brother's life, and Marshall appreciates that he thinks that that idea was dumb. They take the camera to get the film developed, and at the camera store, they see that there is a very good camera there that came from Channel 2 in Little Rock, and they're in love with it. In looking around, Marty like is looking through it, and he ends up seeing a lion instead of a dog. It's kind of supposed to be like an omen of what's to come, and he says that that could be their ticket out of there, but he couldn't afford it. Well, Agnes, back at home, tries to convince her husband that they should buy the boys that camera, and the dad is like not into that idea. He doesn't want to throw out his hard-earned money down the drain. He says he worked hard to give them the business, which is their future. And she says that she'll give him her Hawaii money she's been saving then, and he was like, "No, you've been saving that up." The next morning, he tells the boys that he will loan them the money with interest, but needs them to help him unload the truck. They got the camera, and Marshall hoped that it means that they'd forget about him and make money about new things. They take it out to the woods and they go deer hunting. They see a doe and they tell DC if he hurts or if he hunts with them, he has to hunt fair or he has to leave the doe alone. And Marty gets a video of her and DC shoots her anyway. Not a kill shot, and Marty ends up having to kill her to end her suffering, and DC won't do it. So they all get mad at DC, and Marshall hates it the most because he's like the most like, animal lover. And Marty is like having to hold her as she died. But Mark tells him that he did the right thing. Now, their frenemy DC is played by Zach Ward. He was in Transformers. He was in Postal, Resident Evil Apocalypse, and also he's in my favorite holiday film, A Christmas Story, with the mom from Harry and the Hendersons. So there's another connection. He was
There's
also in
always so
all.
many.
I
I love them.
know. He was also in Almost Famous, Titus, Freddy versus Jason, sorry. The Pink House, which is an excellent book. I didn't see the movie, but the book was really good. Sharknado, The Heart of Sharkness, because apparently they kept making these movies, I'm guessing. Like, really? Sharknado? Really? Okay.
I've never even seen it or heard of it. What is it?
Sharknado? You've never, it's like snakes on a plane. Like, why? Money grab. It's a tornado made of sharks, Hannah. It's a movie about a sharknado. Sharks get sucked up into a tornado. I haven't seen the movie. I don't recommend the movie, but also it's a really dumb premise. It is not the twister of my dreams. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, you can tell in this movie that Marty was not meant for hunting. When the film came back, Marty had said that it wasn't exposed right and he watched it alone. Because of the deer suffering. Marshall suggests that if Ernie Bob Hemingway maybe had had a camera instead of a gun, maybe he would have filmed them instead of shot them. And that gave something for Marty to think about. Now, Mark asks their dad if he can go with their dad instead of Marty, and dad says Marty needs to learn these runs. And later, Marty says he doesn't want to kill the animals. He wants to shoot them instead with the camera, like Marshall suggested. Marshall tells Mark that Marty is leaving town. Agnes shows her oldest son about birds and wildlife, and she tells him that he has to tell his dad that this is what he wants to do. So Marty tells his dad that he's going to move out and he's going to go on the road and he's going to film animals. He's going to sell the movies to make enough money to pay off the camera and his travel. And his dad said, "You're not going anywhere," because he kind of expects him to take over the business. And Mark chimes in for Marty and says he's going to. Like, they're both going. They're going to get to film rare animals before they're gone. And Marshall chimes in, eagles, snakes, fish, whatever's getting killed off. And they all tell him to beat it. They're like, mind your business. Marty says he's going to get the animals on film. They need 1 hour of good enough film to sell to TV, and they're not coming back until they get it. And his dad says that Mark still has 2 years of school left, and they have the rest of the summer then to be back. So he's giving them permission to go, but they have to come back before school starts. So Marty tells Mark that he wants to go after all the badasses, the alligators, the wolves, the grizzly bears, the shots that everyone else is afraid to get, including the cave of 1,000 bears. They want to go and do a blood brothers sort of thing so that when they get into fights that they always like have something that brings them back together. So they get a piece of hot metal like fired down their drop down their back, then they stomp on it, put it in their palm, and then they put their palms together. To the cave is what they shout.
It, all
Look
because of,
painful and
yeah,
weird.
no. That is something I would not do, no matter how motivated I was to do something. And
Well, I will say that like the Blood Brothers are like a Blood Brothers type of thing. I don't know where it came from, but like we as kids definitely were like cut my finger and like touch it together and now we're blood brothers or sisters or whatever the case may be. But they were already related, and so he says like we should do a blood brothers pact, and like his brother was like, yeah, we already share the same blood.
yeah.
But I do remember doing that, and I know that like that was such a terrible idea because there was a good thought of like, and they were instilling this in us in the 90's of like there are diseases that you could pass from you to your friend, but we still did it anyway. And if we didn't die, it was fine.
That's great.
So that's that statement that people say now, like to diminish things and be like, but did you die? Like that's kind of actually how we thought. Like if you do this and you don't die, it's no big deal, right?
Period.
So
I love that.
anyway, so the boys pack up and Marshall's nowhere to be found. And it's sad. He's supposedly sad because they're not taking him. And Leon tells them to drive safe. They don't want to end up in a fiery car wreck in the middle of the nowhere. And he says that right in front of their mom, who's like, excuse me.
Yeah. Like what?
And we hear the song Born to Be Wild playing, blasting as they take off out of town, throwing firecrackers at DC on their way out. And then Mark starts to read a storybook of the wild animal attacks, and it's like gross and it's really intense. And then all of a sudden, Marshall pops up from the back and says, "Stop it!" They pull over to a payphone, and they make Marshall call home. He says to his mom that he knows that she would go if she were him. So she lets him stay 2 weeks, and then she says, put him back on a bus. And Marty says he's definitely going to pay for this. No, Mark continues to read the scary stories, and Marshall is definitely afraid. The next day, Marshall fills up the canteens downstream of them peeing in the river. They spot an eagle, and they go run to the car to get the camera, but it's locked, and they're about to break into the car when Mark stops Marty because the eagle ends up flying away before they get in. Marshall hands them their canteens, and the boys drink the water. Well, they end up in an alligator area, and the guide scares them into talking about the gator that got his dog in his leg as he stabs his prosthetic leg with a knife. He says the gator's tail is bigger than their whole body, and then tells them to be back before too late. Marty tells Mark to bait the water, and Mark takes the whole bag of bait, pokes holes in it, and throws it, but it lands in a tree instead of in the water. So he has to get on his waders and get over through the water to go retrieve it. And the
So
alligators start getting into the water with him.
it was so scary. I do
A
not.
log, yeah, a log bumps into him and he panics. And then he gets to the bait and then he all of a sudden goes under. So they start the boat, but they hit branches. And when he hit branches, Marshall flies out into the water, spotting Mark under the water. He cuts Mark free because he's stuck with his like waders under the water. Marshall then goes to retrieve the fat flashlight that also falls in and he meets a gator. He swims up to the boat and they throw firecrackers at the gator and they get Marshall out just in time and the flashlight flies back up. They return the boat to the guide, and the guide says that he used to tell stories about Gator, and his friend Phil used to tell stories about grizzlies, including a big cave where they all slept together out west. Marty asks to meet Phil, and so they go inside the house where the guide says that he was where he was, and starts calling out to Phil. Who says he came back for some gator skin boots, but found the whole gator skin suit instead. And we see on the wall that he has stuffed and mounted a gator with a man sticking out of it, and the man starts laughing maniacally, which is like creepy. And the boys leave totally freaked
It
out.
was creepy.
So later they end up in this like hippie area outpost with a restaurant, and Mark and Marty go skinny dipping with these hippie girls, and Marshall just happens to accidentally record them. Now Mark was mad that he had to leave the girls behind, but they drive away, and we
I
hear the
forgot
song.
about the part about Marshall recording them. I think that's so weird.
Yeah, back then it was kind of like more of a pranky type thing than it is like gross.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's kind of viewed differently.
Hmm.
Um, Song that was then played was We Hear Magic Carpet Ride, which is a good song. They end up out west in the Valley of Monuments. Mark kept reading stories from the scary book, and they get to a fence that's supposed to be the Devil's Playground, the last home of the wild American wolf. So they use the sign to like cover up the fence of the barbed wire so that they could drive across, and they miss that the sign says that they are now entering government property. So Marshall spots a deer and Marty gets his camera ready, and then he spots a wolf coming up on the deer. So they're really recording now. And the wolf runs up on the deer and the deer takes off, and then two bombers drop bombs on the land that they're on. They're F-4 Phantoms and they're coming back around. So the boys run out of the danger zone almost to be blown up. They dive for cover and a herd of wild horses run by as the boys try to get to the car, capturing the stampede on their camera. Now Marshall sees an owl and takes off after it. The boys run after him, and along the way, they spot a cave that has a drawing inside, a cave drawing that is the cave of bears. So they copy it onto Marshall's stomach so that they have something to visualize, and then they
I thought
show
that
it to
was
an
so
older
funny.
Native woman. She gives them instructions of behind the peak of Arapaho, where the winter comes early, and they take off in that direction. So they hike into the mountains looking for bears, and Marty pulls out a call of a dying rabbit and tries to get Mark to go squeal it. Now, Marshall says he'll do it if he gets the book. He knew he was going to have to end up doing it anyway, but at least this way the stories would stop. These scary stories that freak him out. So he runs into the clearing and uses the call. Marty and Mark set up the camera and they wait. They're really looking for bears. They're thinking this is going to bring out the bears, but no bears. But a young moose runs up as Hannah is in love with this young moose. And then Marshall pets the baby moose and he calls her a baby deer. And Mark's like, that's a moose, and moose are dangerous, right? And of course, a baby moose means like a mama moose or something larger. It's going to run up. And that's what happens. A larger moose runs at him, and Marshall takes off running, eventually getting scooped up by the moose's antlers, which luckily not skewered. And then Mark runs after him. Marty runs after Mark, telling him to get out of the way so he can get the shot. So you can really tell that the older brother just wants the video, and the middle brother is like, we have to rescue our baby brother.
Yeah, literally.
Uh,
Big Daddy Moose was scary. Big Daddy or Big Mommy Moose. Big Moose,
so
scary.
Marshall and the moose end up in the river, and Mark is like telling him, jump off the moose, jump off the moose. And the moose comes out of the river and Marshall gets swept downstream. So then we see Bigfoot running along the other side of the riverbank and pulls Marshall out of the water, but it's not Bigfoot. It is a mountain man dressed in furs saying, "You boys aren't from around here, are you?" And then Marty runs up and says it was all on film. Mark scolds him that their brother almost died. And later, Marshall burns the storybook because he is like, "I'm done with this." Now, the mountain man laughs at them for thinking that they're going to get to the cave and make it out alive. He tells them there's no such thing, bears sleep alone. He says you never want to see a bear up close anyway. He calls them stupid, and he asks if they're willing to pay the price. He tells the boys to head up to Willings Peak and talk to Carrie Stokes about paying the price. Marty tells them they're going to do it, and he can watch it on TV. And then the guy says he has no TV, and then he just disappears.
I
Uh,
love that random just clip. Like, he was
yeah.
just there. He was like, okay, do this. Good luck. You'll probably
Now,
die.
the Bigfoot Mountain Man was uncredited, but it was Danny Glover. Supposedly, because this all well-known actor he was, that's why they didn't feel like they needed to credit it. It was a cameo. Now, Danny Glover is known for Lethal Weapon, the whole series. It's an 80's and 90's series of movies. But he was also in the Color Purple Mandela Lonesome Dove series as well. He was in Predator 2, Angels in the Outfield, Operation Dumbo Drop, Ants, The Prince of Egypt, The Royal Tenenbaums, Saw, Dreamgirls, Brothers and Sisters, and like so many other things. So
Oh my gosh.
he did the Predator 2 with the guy who played Harry in Harry and the Hendersons.
That's so
So there
ironic.
you go. Connection again. So later, Marty tells his mom that they're keeping Marshall a little bit longer. Marshall tells her safety is their safety first is their motto, but he has his fingers crossed behind his back. Is this still a thing?
Yeah.
It means that you're lying. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like if you make a promise and you like cross your toes or something. Like not just your toes, but like a lot of people will cross like anything.
Yeah.
Just
To like violate the promise. Okay. I didn't know. I haven't seen anybody younger using it, so I was just not sure. Well, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they're not lying as much as we did in the 90's. Well, the boys drive up to Willings Peak and look for Carrie Stokes' cabin. They knock on her door and she tells him to go away. He says he came to film the bears and they were told that she could help. She tries to send them away again, but she realizes Marshall is freezing. He has no coat and invites him in. That's when they see one side of her face is like scarred over.
so sad.
She says the cave isn't real. Bears sleep alone. They see a photo of her and her fiance. She says he never came out of the place that she got those scars. And they were to be wed on his birthday, September 3rd, tomorrow. But now she celebrates that day every year by laying flowers on his grave. She gives Marshall a coat that belonged to her fiance, Judd, and she tells him to go home and says that they could get hurt running around chasing old bear stories. They leave, and Marshall says, she knows where that cave is. They get back to the vehicle and find that their car had been robbed. They have left is the camera and the film. They have no money. Marshall suggests their parents could send money, and Marty says, "Yeah, maybe Dad could fly it over in the plane and drop it off." And then spills the beans to Marshall that their dad has never flown a plane in his life. He was only a mechanic, scared of heights just like him. Marshall says that's a lie and asks Marty to back him. Now, Mark tries to protect him. They fight and they roll down a hill. Mark bends his leg backwards and they end up having to take him to the doctor. He calls his mom and tells him they're coming home in the morning. But the doctor's wife suggests that they bunk with them so they don't get eaten by a bear, which is weird, like a dub. I never understood why that part sounded like a weird dub of an audio.
I
Still.
didn't mention that. That's weird.
But the next Yeah, if you watch that section, just that section again, it's like a weird, come home
Hmm.
with us, you'll get eaten by a bear. It's really weird. The next, please don't clip that for anybody listening. Don't just, come home with us, you'll get eaten by a bear. Okay, the next morning,
Was it again?
I know, because it sounds so weird in my head. And like, if you listen to the actual audio, so yeah, it's like, I'm sorry. Um, I'm special. It's fine. The next morning, they're leaving, and Marshall sees an old woman putting flowers on the grave. And Marshall remembers that Carrie is going to be bringing flowers to the grave, but he never came out of the cave, so she'll be bringing flowers to the cave. So if they want to find the cave, they have to follow her. So they track her prints, and they can see that she puts flowers outside the cave. Now, credited as Annie for some weird reason, even though her name is Gary. She is played by Claudia Stedlin, who we will see as Mrs. Patterson in a few weeks in That Thing You Do. So when we watch that, she will be there. But she was also in an episode of Friends, and she was in Larry Crown, and she also is in the new Matlock. But for some reason, it credits her as Annie. There's no
Weird.
character named Annie. Now, the boys enter the cave, spotting snakes who are in there for the warm cave air, and the boys end up covering the rattlesnakes with snow to be able to walk over them, slow them down, walk over them, kind of put them to sleep a little bit. Marty goes in first and films walking over the snakes, and then Marshall almost gets bit by a snake, and Marty says, "A snake bites you, you scream, the bears wake up, and we all die." Opposed to him just also dying from the snake bite.
Right? I did not like, I mean, like, I don't know anything about snakes, so I don't know how accurate the snow thing is. I did not like that idea, though. I feel like they could have came up with something better. I
Like,
don't
I just
know.
thought that that was kind of silly, though, that, like, he was like, you get bit by the snake, you're gonna scream, and then we'll get attacked by the bears, instead of,
Yeah,
like,
no.
you get bit by the snake, trips over, because we're gonna have to get you to a hospital.
Yeah, like you're gonna, no,
So
that's,
silly. Well, they
yeah.
hear the bears sleeping, so they enter the bear cave and they are everywhere. Like they're all around them. The light is waking up the bears. Marshall is shaking. Marty gets the camera ready and they record as the lights wake the bears for sure. One bear gets up and then the others get up and all the bears are up and angry now. Roar. And you can see like one bear is a legit bear and the other bears are people in bear costumes.
Gosh. I didn't
You
even
didn't
like,
notice that?
no, I didn't
It's like
notice that.
these
I thought it was
dumpy.
CGI.
No, it was these dumpy looking bears. So it's like people in bear costumes just going, "Rah!" And then there was like a legit bear that they used back then who filled in for other bears as well. But it was, yeah, there's a bear that's credited in the movie. Um, so yeah, legit bear. So the video is like one bear. So they keep doing these clips of the one real bear close, and then far away, they've got people in costumes.
What? No, I just thought it was CGI. I thought it was funny though that it
It
was
was
like,
bad CGI if it was CGI, but no, it's people in costumes. You can see it.
oh my God.
Um,
I thought it was funny that it was like bears sleep alone and then there's like a ton of bears.
well, they're trying to say that bears sleep alone so that they're stopping people from going into the cave.
That makes sense.
Bears.
It's like,
There's a guy that died
really?
there.
Oh my God.
His
The
bones and
part,
body are probably still in the cave.
yeah, that's true. The actually, never mind. I was gonna say the part after this.
Well, so
That
then Marshall starts singing the Mountain Dew song, and they all start singing, and then the bears calm and lay down. Because their singing was so good. It was bad. And then they finish the song and they all fart because that's what their dad does. I don't know. Is that in the song? I don't even, well, you wouldn't know. I don't even remember if that's, I don't think that's in the song. So I don't know why that was a
Oh,
thing, but that was the thing. So they
wait, how
decided to
did
get the
that put
hell.
the bears to sleep? Like you know what? Like
I
how?
mean, when I sing to George, it puts him to sleep, my dog. But yeah, I don't think that they're singing, first of all, that song, and two, their singing would have put them to sleep, but we don't know. So they decide to get the hell out of there and they get pulled on or pooped on, sorry, by bats. The bats short the flashlight and it disturbs the bats and the bears. So everything's just chaotic. Marty just records it and the bear steals the camera and Marty releases it like it's connected to his belt. He has to release the camera and his belt. Marshall says, "Go, I've got a way out," and squeals the dying rabbit call, getting the bears to go to him. Marshall grabs a camera and takes off with the bear on his trail. And the boys get to the snakes. The snow has melted. They just dive out and over the snakes and out of the cave. Marshall is trying to get away from the bear and gets out to the top of the cave just in time. He's got the camera, and then he gets swatted and pushed by the bear all the way down the hill. At the bottom, they scoop him up and he says, I got the camera. And Marty says, screw the camera. Are you sure you're okay? Which is sweet because he finally cared about him more than the camera. Well, later we see Mark and Marty in the back seat sleeping as Marshall is driving. He's imagining he's flying, swerving all over the road, and he loses control of the car, hitting mailboxes and a sign. And Marty says, nice driving, Zero. And Marshall says, 1 minute I saved them from getting torn to shreds by raging bears. 2 mailboxes and one sign later, I'm back to zero. The dad and Leon come out and tow the boys home. Marshall runs up to see Leona, but they've already released her. She was strong enough to fly away, so that could have been her that he saw. No, Marshall goes
I
in.
forgot to say my boyfriend is obsessed with owls and he loved Leona. That's his
Oh,
favorite animal. He was like, it's an owl! I was like, girl, yeah, it's an owl. Owls creep me out though, so it's not mine.
okay. We'll add that to the list too. So Marshall goes in to see the plane, and his dad has labeled it zero. The next day, Marty is bitter and talks down to his dad. His dad says, if you're too good for this business, you're too good for the money it made. You're too good for the house you grew up in, and the clothes on your back, and the food in your belly, and your new busted camera. You do good for all of that, son? No, Marshall then calls him out. Dad, did you ever fly a plane? And he asks again, and his dad's face and Leon's face tells it all. And Marshall takes off on his bike. His dad said he did the best that he could, but if it wasn't good enough, it's the best he knows how. Later, the boys get a present. They have the video back for Thursday night. They have popcorn and tickets to sell for Friday night and keys to the school gym. Their mom tells them to take a look at it and see if it's good, they'll show it. If it's not, they'll play basketball. It's like she's very supportive.
Yeah,
Later that
she's
evening, their dad goes off the road with his truck. He was driving and he swerved and went off the road. So they wake up the next morning to a note on the fridge that there's been an accident and to come to the hospital to meet their mom and dad. Agnes said the truck was totaled, the load was destroyed, and there was a fire. They barely pulled him out. He says the connecting rods are saved for a rainy day. They're going to need some money. He tells Marty to stick around. He's counting on him because this could really break them financially. And so they all pitch in to working on the parts. Now, Leon says that lots of folks are coming to the big show. Marty says he only has pizzas of it, not enough to make a film, and that he'd rather stay in jail pounding rods for the rest of his life. And that's where his mom's had enough of it, of his spoiled bratness. This isn't easy for me either, she says. Now, Marshall cracks the joke about how at least the rods don't chase you. Rods and carbs, at least they're in focus. Maybe we should just stick to what we know, dipping carbs. He calls the film a big loser anyway. And they all know he's going to be there now and just walks off. Marty is like, the film's going to be great.
I liked
Kind
that.
of, yeah, Marshall just played him essentially to get him to like suck it up and show the film.
Yeah.
So Marshall woke up and pulled out the plane, getting her ready to fly. He fixed blocks to the pedals and then decided he was going to take off, which woke Mark and Marty, who ran out there. As Marshall was taking off, Leon runs out, oh my God, and is screaming, Marshall, as he's taking off after the plane. Don't take off. And his mom says, it's okay, Leon's got him. And Leon is screaming, stop right now. And Marshall says, I got to do this, Leon. And then his mom realizes he is not stopping, and they start running to the car. Leon hops in the back seat. Marshall, what are you doing? He responds, flying, Leon. And Leon says, well, fly higher. And then he's like, not this high, as they keep going up, not this high. And Leon says, your daddy would sure love to see this. And Marshall says, he's gonna. And just then, his block falls off his pedal, so he can't reach the pedals anymore. So he tells Leon to keep the stick from moving while he fixes it. And down on the ground, they don't see Marshall, so they thought that he fell out. And then they finally do see Marshall, and they say, I think he's laughing. Leon, too. And then Mark takes the binoculars and says, no, Leon's screaming. Leon is begging to be taken down. Marshall flies by the hospital. His dad hops out of bed to look out the window and sees Marshall fly by. Marshall sees Leona fly with them. He imagines his dad is flying in the back with him, and he says he wasn't afraid. They slice through the clouds just like butter, and then they head home. He lands in the field and break just in time in the hangar. Marshall hops out and says, morning, everybody. And his mom says, you just think you take her out for a spin? Marshall says he had to. She says, "What do you think your father's gonna say?" And Marshall looks back at the plane and then looks at his mom and says, "Probably, how'd she handle? I hope." They go to the hospital and Marshall has to face his dad alone. He tells him that he has some explaining to do, and uh, Mark outside the door says he'd prefer the bear cave to what Marshall's going through right now. Marshall lectures him on how he needs to let each of the boys be who they need to be. Work hard, tell the truth, don't be afraid of anything. Isn't that what you taught us? Why did you let me believe we were going to fly together? His dad threatens him that he won't be in this hospital forever, talking to him like that. He asks for the boys to be cut loose so that they can make their films, and his dad says, "So, Marshall, how'd she handle?" And they hug.
Oh,
Later that night, they show the film to an almost packed house. People laugh, are shocked, scared, etc. Some people liked it, some people didn't, but they made their film. DC criticizes it in front of the group, and in the back, their dad is clapping, starting the slow clap that we'll see in other movies, the slow clap. And everyone stands up and claps for them. Everybody joins in. That's how it starts. So the slow clap. Some guy boos, and Leon hits him. DC says he wants his money back, and the dad says, "You watched a pretty good movie, son." But he gives him his money back, and the college girls tear DC a new one, calling him a dumb animal. The boys say they're going to finish the film and sell it to TV and have someone like Robert Redford narrate it. Now, the young girls swoon over Marshall, which was an accurate depiction of everybody swooning over JTT. So it was accurate. We were all like, that's us when we watched this movie. Like, we are all, yes, that was how we were. And probably what he encountered everywhere he went.
oh my God.
On the screen, we learn that on April 6, 1977, The Predators aired on NBC, narrated by Robert Redford. Marty went on to produce the acclaimed series Wild America. Mark became an Emmy Award winner and one of the most foremost film wildlife. I can't. I'm sorry. One of the most foremost wildlife filmmakers in the world. Marshall recently completed a documentary about endangered snails. He's now looking for bigger game. Agnes spent 2 glorious weeks in Hawaii, and Marty Sr. calmed the island for car parts. Now, during the credits, we see more footage, and this is actual footage from Marty Stouffer. Marty had several documentaries and TV shows, including Alaska, America's Last Frontier, Bighorn, The Predators, The Man Who Loved Bears, Marty Stouffer's Wild America, Animal Oddities, King of Snakes, The Grouse and the Ghost Hawk, The Chipmunks of Yosemite, A Multitude of Mollusks, Birds of Prey, Great Escapes, Fantastic Follies, and Wild America, the TV series. Now, Mark directed The Predators, Rocky Mountain Reunion, John Denver TV movies, Man Outside, Secrets of the Wild Panda, Tigers of the Snow, Dangerous Encounters, Search for Submarine I-52, Dog Gone, Creature of Darkness, Apollo F1 Engine Expedition, Women Erased, Breakthrough 702, LA Prey, and Japan's Twitter Killer. So I think that's like came out of he left animals and went to people, I guess, with the Japan's Twitter Killer. Marshall is known for taking on dangerous filming assignments. That's kind of what he became known for, including close encounters with alligators and cougars to secure the footage. Marshall specialized in capturing close-ups and slow motion footage, contributing to the signature style of the Stouffer productions. He was often a cameraman for Fantastic Follies, Return of the Wolf, and Nature. Apparently, he was also in this movie, uncredited as a ruffian, but I have no idea where. I don't know what ruffian was, but he was in the movie somewhere. So
Ruffian.
it looks like they kind of worked together initially and they all kind of then split off and did their
Yeah.
own things. So what
Pretty
I
cool.
missed, Hannah, on this one.
I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
Okay,
I have a lot of thoughts.
good. I need a break with all those tongue twisters. I need some lemonade.
Okay, first, the beginning, I'm just gonna like read you my inner thoughts because this one I tried something different. I literally just like wrote down my thoughts while watching it, like word for word. Oh
Okay.
yes, 3 teenage boys with a camera. What could go wrong? That was like my thought for the beginning. I was like, this isn't a great idea. This is not a great idea. And their dad initially said no, and they're like, no, I'm doing it. I would be.
Yeah.
Their dad was scary.
It's the 60s though. Like the 60s were about kids who left their homes. Don't do this, kids. Uh, who left their homes like to go find something, go find something for themselves. I mean, it was a big hippie movement in the
Mhm.
60s, which was a huge flock of like teenagers and 20 somethings that like flocked to California and flocked to other places. Sometimes in terrible situations because they made a disaster of multiple cities, but in their wake. But yeah, it was just the mass leaving of their home if they were like 17 and older, which Marty supposedly was, right? So he was like, this is my new life. This is what I want for myself. And he fought for it. But he was a little bit spoiled. The fact that like you don't have to follow in your dad's footsteps, but you should at least respect what's like raised you and like how your family has supported themselves.
Yeah. No, I agree. I thought it was funny how he was like trying to be responsible and then just like wasn't super responsible. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of just focused on himself, which like appreciate the grind, but like come on. Let's worry more about safety here. Like we gotta do something. I feel like their lack, specifically his lack of, and Marshall's too a little bit. I don't know. I feel like him and Marshall's lack of consideration of their own safety was a little crazy. Like I feel like this would not happen in today's world like at all. I feel like it was
Oh, I mean,
very
there's lawsuits and you wouldn't be allowed near the cave. There would be like barriers or something.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't have a cave anymore because it's already been developed by like, it's sad, but it's a lot different when you go to other countries and there aren't fences to protect you or guardrails or like if you're hiking with like on mountainsides without things necessarily holding you in. So,
Yeah.
um, it's a lot different.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I literally wrote down this whole trip is one OSHA violation after another.
It's not OSHA though, because there's no occupational safety. There's no workplace that they're going into. This
It's
is
true.
the wild. When you hike into the wild, you take your life in your own hands. Period. End. Full stop.
It's true. It's
You
true.
should know this is why people have, when you go, like you prepare, you have the appropriate gear, you have bear spray, you have like things that you need to protect yourself, you have a plan for where you store and keep your food at night. Like you don't mess around with animals.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, it was wholesome. It was a wholesome movie. I mean, I don't know how they survived singing, singing to the bears to make them fall asleep. Great. If I ever
I
encounter a bear,
mean,
that's what I'm gonna do. That's what I took
you
away. I'm
should.
gonna sing to it.
Well, yeah. So when I encountered a cougar hiking in Arizona, I didn't sing to it, but I was like, I had done a presentation about, and I was trying to remember the details, but like what you do when you encounter things. And cougar is something that you potentially encounter. I do know traditionally when you encounter a cougar, like they're generally, because they're usually solo, they're by themselves, like they're generally like more afraid of you than you are of them usually, and like especially if they're in a populated area. But yeah, we were hiking in Arizona and I like came around the corner of this hiking trail and this cougar came around and we kind of met face to face about 10 feet apart, and my partner was like further behind me, so he didn't see it really as much. Um, as I stopped him, I was like, no, like there's a cougar, like you need to stop walking. And I immediately just thought, okay, you need to make lots of noise because you with cougar you need to seem bigger than you are. And I didn't have anything with me that I could make myself larger. And you don't want to seem aggressive though, too. So you just need to be like kind of puffed up. And so I just turned on music on my phone. And the first thing that was like there, because I didn't have a good signal, was the last thing that played, which was Beyonce's Single Ladies. And so I blasted Beyonce's Single Ladies. Um, and the cougar took off. So when I've told that story in the past, people were confused about the cougar being an animal or just an older lady, and I was like, no, 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 this was not like a older woman cougar. This was a actual physical cougar. So, yeah. But the cougar like takes off. But the one thing that I did know too is that you have to be careful because once the cougar leaves your sight, they often will double back and like watch you from someplace else. So I was very mindful about playing loud music the entire way out of the park. I did warn people that I encountered, like, hey, FYI, we saw the cougar. Like, I guess it had been known to like hunt around or kind of, I guess, fish around this like waterfall river area where it could get fish and could kind of hunt for other things. But people were there. It's a walking path, so people take their dogs, and sometimes their dogs are off leash and things like that. So I like warned people that I did see. But yeah, single ladies worked like a charm. So that's my future cougar plan for. Oh,
I love it. Hilarious. No, I thought it was funny that they just sang to the bears. Also, I doubt you know the answer to this because I don't know why anyone would know the answer to this unless they're like a wildlife investigator. But I really hope bat poop is not the color it was.
oh,
Like, I
blue.
really hope it was. Like, I hope it's
Yeah.
just like bird poop.
I think bat guano is typically like gray or black or brown. I've never seen it be like blue or purple, kind of the way that it looked in the movie. Bat guano is super toxic though, so just like if you do see it, like avoid it. It's very, very toxic for you. Also, bats are not scary, but they can definitely surprise you. And when they take your light out in a room full of bears, I guess that would be kind of scary.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I liked the movie. Yeah, that was one of my questions. I was like, I really hope bat poop isn't that this color. That's like really scary
It's a
and
really
unnerving.
weird question to have.
Yeah, I was like, when I saw that, I like turned
Bat
to my
poop
boyfriend. I
isn't
was like, what the
scary.
fuck? He was
So
like,
what did you rate this one?
I rated this one an 8.5.
Okay, we're sticking a lot of movies in the 8.5 category. I feel like we need to like put a list together so that you can compare all of your
Okay.
current 8.5 ratings and feel like if they are really at the 8.5 level.
This one I feel like definitely is because I love animals, except Big Daddy Moose's Moose, Big Daddy Moose, or Big Mommy Moose.
Well, they can run 45 miles an hour, so you should stay away from a moose in general. They kill people often in the mountains, that are like venturing off of ski hills in Colorado and things like that. Like if you can't, you should not. That's like the stupid people that walk up to the bison like out west. Like you don't go up to a bison. Like I know that it like if it looks like friend, should be friendly, but not.
Yeah.
That's not how that works. So yeah, same with moose. Moose are huge. They can run up to 45 miles an hour. Um, they will like the best thing that you can do if you encounter one in hiking somewhere, is like to put a tree or multiple trees between you and moose. Um, and then also, just be very cautious of moose area. There's not a lot of moose area. They're not like a huge, like here in the United States, that like over by us in the Midwest, like there's like 12 of them or something in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And then there's more in Wisconsin. So if you're in northern Wisconsin, you may encounter moose, but you just be careful, because they can be kind of sassy and not in a good way. They have like an attitude. They're like deer with an attitude problem. Very large, large deer with an attitude problem. So just in general, just if a moose is
Okay.
outside, you stay inside.
Period. I will not go outside if I ever encounter a moose. I mean, I'd probably like if I was walking around outside and just casually saw a moose, I don't know what I'd do. I would play dead.
I do know that. So like my friend Lori, who many people have met on Space Jam, or heard, I guess, on Space Jam, because this was before we were doing video, but um so she and we used to go camping every year up north in the UP, and like that would be, and we'd go into Canada sometimes, and that would be like her goal, is to see a moose. And she would get really mad because we would pass these like moose crossing signs and she would never see a moose. And she was like, why are there crossing signs if we never see one? Um, and it was just really silly, but that's her goal, is to encounter moose. And I just was very like, okay, now I'm gonna have to protect both of us from this moose. Like this is always my thought when she's talking about like let's encounter this thing. I'm like thinking to myself, okay, how am I protecting us from this moose? As we're hiking, I'm like listening for like, are we gonna encounter a cougar? Are we gonna encounter a bear? If we do, I need to like protect. Yeah, she's the one that like does the thing, and I'm the one that like makes sure we don't die.
That's funny.
So
That's like such a
so
Oh,
that's
Lori,
our
that is such a
relationship.
terrible idea. I didn't want to see
She
me.
likes to go hike. I mean, we hike all over the place. I mean, it's not going to stop her from hiking, but yeah, she was very excited. I forgot where she went. I think she went skiing in Colorado and she saw moose in Colorado and she was very excited. Like that was the first thing she told me was like, I finally saw a moose. And I was just like, you're still on vacation. Like go enjoy it. Um,
That's so funny.
but
Oh my God.
But yeah, some people really like them. So, well, now that we are into baseball season, our next watch is The Sandlot from 1993. Now, The Sandlot is a nostalgic coming of age comedy about Scotty Smalls, a new kid in 1962 California neighborhood who learns to play baseball with a local group of boys. So this is the same time frame as this movie that we just watched. They experience summer adventures, including confrontations with a terrifying junkyard dog known as the Beast, after Smalls hits an autographed Babe Ruth ball over the fence. This is up on Disney Plus. That's where we'll be watching this movie. Now, before we sign off, I do want to answer a question that I get all the time. Why do we do this podcast? And the easy answer is this weirdo, Hannah, thinks that the 90s were the best decade, even though she wasn't alive for it. But the real answer is that stories like this, they shape us. They shape who we are, how we think, and how we see the world for better or for worse. And for Hannah, the jury's still out. We're just trying to keep her from brewing potions like in Practical Magic, joining a Jamaican bobsled team like in Cool Runnings, setting killer whales free like in Free Willy, getting engaged to someone in a coma like while you were sleeping, or pranking people with dead fish like in Grumpy Old Men.
I
But
feel like
honestly,
that's the most likely right there.
who am I to stop her? So, sorry parents to Wanda.
It's Wanda.
Now that's it for this episode of Millennial Meets Gen Z 90s edition. Thanks for listening and rewinding the 90s with us. If this episode sparked a memory or your favorite scene, or made you see this classic in a new way, or introduced you to something from the decade that you missed, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and don't miss our next episode. And find us on Instagram and Facebook for the behind the scenes moments, the photos, extra clips that we don't show. And until next time, be kind and rewind.
Thanks for watching or listening, everybody.